So today we'll be getting into Jimmy's arrest, Roman Reigns' warning, Raw, and much more. Let's start things off with Jimmy's arrest. TMZ is reporting that Jimmy was arrested late Monday night around 10:35 p.m. in Pensacola after cops say he ran a red light after being clocked going 50 in a 35 zone. The police on the scene allegedly smelled booze, so they asked Jimmy to step out of his Dodge Charger. The cops said that Jimmy was noticeably swaying and admitted to having multiple drinks before getting behind the wheel. Jimmy also took a breath test, which he horribly failed as well. Cops claim that his breath test came back at .202 and .205, which is obviously above Florida's legal limit of .08. The cops had no other choice but to arrest Jimmy on a misdemeanor DUI charge. He was also hit with citations for speeding and running a red light. He was released Tuesday morning on a $500 bond. It's also not the first time that this has happened to Jimmy. He was arrested in Pensacola back in 2019, which also was a big deal back then. Jimmy and Jay disappeared for several months after his arrest back then, but it didn't impact WWE that much because they weren't doing much of anything back then. But things are much different now. Jimmy may not be an actual world champion, but he plays a crucial part in the world title scene on Smackdown. He's literally coming off a main event Smackdown appearance with Edge. So, with the position that he's in right now, WWE can't afford to just make him vanish without explaining, and no one will notice. That's not the case here at all, especially with Jay being MIA. Jimmy is literally the only thing Roman has right now. So, if you pull Jimmy from TV, it's obviously not going to go unnoticed. Reports claim that the reaction to Jimmy's arrest is a bit heated, especially given the fact that this wasn't a big mistake or bad luck. It was Jimmy's fault and his personal judgment. Jimmy is released, but he'll have to deal with all this in court again at a later date. The big question that now arises is how WWE will handle Jimmy's usage on SmackDown, because you're talking about a main event talent here. Does WWE just go ahead and ignore this situation like it never happened, or will it receive some acknowledgement? Well, WWE has acknowledged TMZ's report in the past, like with the Lana and Rusev engagement, and they switched all storyline plans because of that report. So, Jimmy's 2019 arrest didn't really fit into storylines, but this time around, if they do want to acknowledge it, this specific arrest would fit in with Jimmy's current storyline. Jimmy is currently trying to prove himself to Roman Reigns. So imagine how an arrest would look for Jimmy and how Roman would react. Roman could easily confront Jimmy on the arrest and ask him what that's all about. Maybe Roman gets frustrated and sends Jimmy away. Roman leaves Jimmy alone for 1 week and he gets beat up by Edge and arrested outside of WWE. These are all things that Roman could throw in Jimmy's face, tell him how he's embarrassing the family, and send him away for it. So it really comes down to how WWE plans to address this situation. Do you acknowledge it, or do you act like it never happened? You can go either way, so it all depends. Reports are still saying that they're extremely disappointed and frustrated. It's big news that went viral. But like we said before, this isn't some lower card story you're dealing with. If Jimmy is going to be pulled from the storyline, it needs an explanation. So we'll see what happens here. It'll be interesting to see if they mention it or if they ignore it. Does Jimmy get written out of the story until all of this is cleared up? That's what we'll have to wait on. But speaking of Jimmy, Jay, and Roman recently received a warning from Jimmy and Jay's other brother. Some fans have been unaware, but Jimmy and Jay do have a third brother, Sepha, who's also trying to make a name for himself in the wrestling industry. Sepha recently spoke with Muscle Man Malcolm and gave his thoughts on the storyline regarding his family on SmackDown. He had this to say during that interview. I think they're doing a good job. First of all, you know it's been a year since they've been running SmackDown, and I think I like this whole storyline going on. Though my cousin better ease up, if I slide up in there and leave my brothers alone, but I don't like family drama, man. So, what they got going on, that's them. I like to stay back and just watch the whole thing, but I think it's pretty cool to me that they're taking over SmackDown. And he's absolutely right, and that's why Jimmy's arrest is such a big deal. Roman Reigns and his brothers are running SmackDown right now. They're all in the main event picture and putting on the best work of their careers. So, that's why everyone hopes that the arrest doesn't harm the story flow, because it's at an all-time high and they're truly running SmackDown right now. Sepha also talked how he hasn't watched Raw since Roman returned. He had this to say about that topic. I haven't even watched Raw for like a year since Roman came back. I haven't. I don't know what's going on with Raw. That's how invested I am. Well, you know, my brothers and my cousin on SmackDown. Shout out to them. So yeah, this has been a topic of discussion among the fans, and that's of course Raw. The only Raw episode after WrestleMania that was worth talking about was the post Hell in a Cell edition of Raw. That was a really solid show, and everyone thought that it could be the start of Raw going in the positive direction again, but it's been really inconsistent ever since. A lot of fans were critical of one of the more recent episodes where there was a lot of rematches, weird segments, and random 8-person tag matches. A lot of star power is missing from Raw, such as Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, and others. Not to mention that superstars that were once intriguing parts of the show, like Alexa Bliss, no longer really have anything going on. Alexa Bliss used to have a lot going on, and her story alone used to give us a lot to talk about and discuss. But what is she doing right now? She's just waving her hand and trying to mind control people until someone stops her for a few seconds later. That's all she's doing right now, so it's not that much to really talk about or speculate there with her story anymore in current day. So even Alexa's story has gotten to a standstill right now, so we gotta wait and see if that gets back on track soon. We're coming down to the final few Raw episodes here, so maybe they're saving all the special moments for when the fans return. That could be a thing too. Maybe big returns like Bray Wyatt, Becky Lynch, and more are all being saved for when the fans return. So maybe the real effort comes back for Raw real soon, because Raw has been a bit shaky. But thankfully the fans are back, and that alone should make Raw more interesting to watch. Some fans have even been discussing how nothing of value even happens on Raw and parts of SmackDown. You can just watch the pay-per-views only and pretty much miss nothing in between. And that's very true, at least for the moment. So hopefully that changes, and hopefully some more things of value start to happen on Raw and SmackDown again. But what are your thoughts on today's stories with Jimmy Uso, Roman Reigns, and Raw? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.